What a massive weekend it's been in the Premier League. We've got to talk a little bit about that Arsenal midfield, a little bit about the way that the attacking structure works, a little bit about the gaps sometimes at the back and who is responsible for those, and then overall where Arteta is taking this side. But before we get into it, if you are in a good mood, if ever you clicked a link in a description, it could be and should be today, because this is going to be a long season, right? And you guys need good sleep. And also, this channel's trying hard with sponsors. We are only still small, so we're trying to stack it up right now. We really appreciate any support. So please, in the link in the description, go hit it right now, because these guys are sponsoring today's video.
Look, this might be the easiest integration I've ever done. These people literally just want you to get better sleep. And whether that's sleeping all the way through the night or just grabbing a nap during the day, Manta Sleep is here to help you get 100% blackout and make sure that you just lock out all those distractions. I don't sleep completely dressed. This is just an ad integration, and this shows you that I've also slept at some point in my life. That's relatable. You sleep too. One thing they don't tell you is this thing actually smells really nice. It's like, just smells fresh and cute. And as a cute little aside, I got these Manta Sleep eye cups. These are silk eye cups. This is so good. No way. Look. And these ones can go in the freezer or the microwave to either give you heated relief or cooling relief. Then this Velcro here just attaches to the inside. You adjust it however you want, bam, straight on, and you don't even need to nap. You can just sit there and appreciate it. Although, I would definitely nap if I got into that state. Anyway, come on. The mission here is clear and simple. Empower people who already sleep well to sleep even better, and empower light sleepers to, well, actually enjoy good sleep. You can't operate at your maximal output until you've actually slept well. That could be all the way through the night as long as you need to, or it could also just be a short cat nap during the day when you want to maximize the amount of time that you have. Naps beat coffee, hands down. And we're not just talking about something trivial here. Good sleep actually makes your life better. If you're in school and you're trying to study better, sleep will make that better. If you're in work and you're trying to work harder or better, sleep will make that better. If you're trying to have a relaxing week, sleep will make that better. Whatever the goal is, make your life better with Manta Sleep. And these guys don't just have one kind of mask. They have a sound mask, a pro mask, a sleep mask, a weighted mask, and the range of products goes on. Sleep better, anywhere, anytime. Listen, I'm just down for a company that understands the benefits of napping. So if you are too, then hit the link down in my description and get yourselves 10% off with the code LOZ10. So if you want to sleep better during the football season and all year round, try Manta Sleep. Back to the football thing.
Thank you so much to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. If you guys have got any issues with your sleep, or even you just want to get better sleep or any of those things, that is the link down there in the description. It's down there for you guys to go click. It has been a great day. Go take a look at it. Arsenal beat Manchester United at home. Arsenal being at home, that is. In what is one of the most dramatic finishes in the Premier League, and probably one of it's indicating where finishes in the Premier League are going. You get to 90 minutes and then there's almost a whole other mental game going on, and we want to go through some of that, because I've got to admit, the analysis and the eye test aren't quite the same today, and I think Arsenal this season are very much struggling somewhere between the eye test and the analysis. Let's go through why. Big result, by the way, for Arsenal. In terms of narrative, I'm going to go through all of this. This is the picture that everyone wanted to see. Look at that guy's happy little face. Look at that. God love him. He made the move not long ago. I'll do it in green just because it's positive. I'll do it in red just because that's also positive for us. Not for Manchester United. Anyway, the point is, Declan Rice scored a critical goal at a critical moment for an Arsenal side who, in terms of pressure during the game, I want to talk about this just for a second. By the way, good friend of mine, our Manchester United supporter, I said, hey, you might want to turn these last 10, 15 minutes on, go take a look at it. Manchester United putting a little bit of pressure on here. Oh God, I'm not even sorry. I'm not. Very exciting. Declan Rice goes on, scores a goal late on in this game. And it didn't go against the run of play. Manchester United had their chances, but look at this dominance. The top green line is Arsenal, obviously the home team. Bottom team is Manchester United in blue, often struggling to get any sort of foothold in this game or any kind of consistent amount of possession. There are going to be people who tell you, oh, Manchester United went away and deserve more. There are moments, 1, 2, maybe 3 at a push, right? down here where Manchester United had any semblance of dominance in the game. And that is partly because Erik ten Hag is trying to play this kind of football, which is counter-attacking, right? But Arteta knew what he was doing. Arteta, for long periods of this game, dominated. And obviously, that's partly because they were allowed to do so, right? But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost triple the amount of instances where Arsenal bossed this game and almost didn't make it count. And I want to go through some of that because the need for this Arsenal team to make games like this count, the need for this Arsenal side to not stutter in huge games is really important. They laid themselves out like this, arguably the preferable centre-back pairing, arguably a centre-back three with Zinchenko kind of playing that inverted midfield role, Rice being able to drop in and do what it is that Rice does, Havertz playing that transitional role, sometimes struggling to do it in this game, and Odegaard being able to get on and put pressure on that back line alongside Saka, alongside Nketiah, and definitely alongside Martinelli, who targeted ferociously Aaron Wan-Bissaka today. It's worth acknowledging, actually, what a good game Aaron Wan-Bissaka had against Martinelli today. Kept him out quite a lot. And weirdly, a good game against Martinelli is limiting his opportunities, not fully shutting him down. So credit to him for that. Both the fullbacks today having a pretty good game. And they still lost. Because guess what? The changes that Erik ten Hag made kind of left Manchester United a little bit exposed. And weirdly, I don't know, they kind of, obviously one of them was a substitute for an injury, but the other one? Both of them felt a little bit weird. But, it is what it is, and Erik ten Hag is still where he's at. Onana, we will analyse Onana another state. Let's talk about that first half. This is the heat map or the average positions at the end of the first half. You can't really tell a lot without some of the heat maps, but I'm just going to put a little bit of what I read from the heat maps. Rice in the middle there, trying to contest this midfield area. Martinelli being a massive form of that outlet, and Nketiah similarly trying to be as supportive and helpful as possible. Ben White absolutely pushing on in the way that he should, and that left a massive gap for basically Marcus Rashford here at the back. It meant that Manchester United looked like they had a better outlet and more control in the game, more balance than they actually did. Arsenal were outstripping them in terms of possession, in terms of shots, in terms of all these other things. But what Manchester United were making the most of was that transition, that counter-attack, that sucker them in, get them on the counter-attack. And that meant that there was a nervousness around this game, right? Because Manchester United are a counter-attacking side right now. And what's weird about it is, when you look at the average positions, they were allowed to do that by Arteta. I'm going to find a way to put these two average positions on top of each other for another video, but they targeted that right-hand side for Arsenal, their left-hand side. And really, they didn't need to be all that adventurous with the two fullbacks because, look, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Dalot both could just sit back. But look how deep the likes of Bruno is. Look how deep the likes of... normally, you see Eriksen in kind of this middle area there, and look how deep you see Casemiro. All three of those guys, arguably just before the halfway line, whereas the attacking players for Arsenal much further down the field, showing a level of dominance, right? Of course, I also want to acknowledge that I thought Antony got back quite well today, which was a massive help for someone like Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They knew that there was going to be a bit of, not a weakness on that side, but they were going to attack a lot down that side, and they knew that there would need to be a lot of support down there. Manchester United hunkered in. Weirdly, Martial actually had quite a good game. But I thought that the two captains actually embodied a lot of what was good, possibly bad on the other side as well. There were times where Odegaard snatched at things. I thought it was fantastic, right? I thought it was great. I loved a lot of the play that goes through him, but there are times, and I get it, I'll put it this way, right? Throughout the match, he's kind of paid to take risks. And so there are times where it feels like it doesn't come off for Martin Odegaard. And there are times where, like the goal which was chalked off, or like the goal, oh no, it wasn't the goal that was chalked off, it was the goal that it was the shot that Saka just put directly at Onana that you really thought, that would have put Arsenal ahead, that would have put them in a better position, right? And there was a lovely little move in the middle of the second half. Odegaard in that. Gabriel Jesus, I think, was on the pitch at that point. In that. I'm going off memory here, guys. This is immediately after the game. Odegaard, again, at the centre of these kind of things. Interesting to watch. Whichever player it comes on in plays in that position is in the centre of those kind of things. Interesting to watch how his opposite number, Havertz, Fabio Vieira, those kind of guys, do something a little bit different to him. And then you got the other side. Manchester United's player of the month last month, Bruno Fernandes, again, getting involved in the politics of the game. Arsenal remaining above that. Bruno Fernandes actually had quite a good game, I thought. I don't think he captained in the way, again, that he's supposed to captain, or the way that I would like him to captain, but I felt that Bruno Fernandes was contributing a lot to what it is that Manchester United are trying to do, which is counter-attack, get the ball through Rashford, break up the play, make it as difficult as possible, and then spring out. That's exactly what Manchester United wanted to do. And of course, they were doing it against Arteta and the new form of Havertz, which Arteta says, trust me, trust him, I love him. Now, obviously you're going to back your guy. You're going to back your guy that you signed for an expensive amount of money, right? But at the same time, there's a reason that Havertz and Odegaard are taking these risks. There's a reason that these guys are in the side. And it's kind of weird because it sets up a bit of an unbalanced formation within Arsenal, or like a lopsided formation where Odegaard's trying one thing, Havertz is trying another. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. And that's mainly because the opposition are looking, obviously, sitting very deep, looking to break up Arsenal's play, and that can work very well. And Erik ten Hag is a brilliant manager at that, right? He's not all about just positional play. He's about getting the right people in the right places at the right time and just being existent in a kind of an ignore, like that. None of what I said there meant anything. What I mean by that is he's good at setting up a formation which can counter-attack on you and get players in the right positions. Players understand the patterns that he wants them to inhabit. I don't understand what any of the English before that meant. Now, this was pre-substitutes. Arsenal, relative to then even just Martinelli, obviously playing a lot through Rice, getting a lot through that midfield. Havertz looking a little bit deeper, trying to get out to Martinelli, and that's going to inhibit him at times. He's there to kind of encourage and engage and enable Martinelli in this game, so bear that in mind. He's there to decide which way the ball goes at different points. Odegaard looking rather attacking, supporting Saka in the same way as Ben White does, as happens in almost every game for Arsenal. But then look at it. They realised that there was a deficiency on one side, and weirdly, they just magnetised towards that area of the field, right? It's kind of a weird one. You've got Vieira, Nelson, and Tomiyasu all in the same area of the field. Now, obviously the heat maps will show there's a bit more coverage in there, probably a little bit deeper within here, but these two were just hugging this touchline, trying to get in behind there, trying to get in. And it basically stretched Manchester United out at a point in the game where they've made some substitutions after they've laid out like this, which is really a 4-4-2, but really a 4-3-3. But really, again, don't look at the numbers with Erik ten Hag. It's really a 5-5 with Erik ten Hag at times, and I feel like they haven't quite got that right. Amrabat, let's see what happens with that. Anyway, they make the substitutions. Suddenly the defenders aren't doing the defending that they need to be doing in the same way, and they're split apart. There is an awkwardness to a lot of this back line. No one's covering any of the positions they need to be covering, but arguably they're trying to combat a lot of what Arsenal are doing there, so that's why these average positions are here. Really, Maguire's more like there. And Onana being so high up the field, sure, works, but you can't have that. You can't have that same style of play, and Onana's not going to be as comfortable, which is why they basically scored the Gabriel Jesus goal. And of course, if you sub both your centre-backs, you're going to have a difference in your organisational skills, all these kind of things. I get it, like there are two leaders on there, Maguire and Evans. Arsenal exploited so much of this. They went over all of that. Evans is meant to be going towards the player, kind of got a bit, just sort of stood there, hung a leg out, and ultimately that is what lost Manchester United the game. I just wanted to drop this in here very quickly in the middle of this one taker. There were some marginal calls in this game, and the offside, I get it, like that's computer, right? But, you know, it's something where it could have been marginally the other way, and suddenly we're talking about not a very different result. Obviously, it was 3-1 in the end, but you get why it became 3-1, right? The other way, the penalty. You could call that a marginal call as well. All I'm saying is, this is obvious analysis, but it is really important to say in a game like this. The edges and the tiny percentages that either manager are trying to gain, both of those came from new players that they had. Both of those came from new toys. The Højlund type toy and the Garnacho type toy and the stretching of the game at that point, that's really important. Garnacho is very new still to Manchester United. I know he's been there for a while, but you get what I'm saying. And the same the other way with Kai Havertz, running into that half space, putting pressure on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, putting pressure on the other centre-back alongside him as well. Lindelof, those kind of guys. there's something in this where it's so marginal. We could be speaking, and I don't want to write a whole, narrative around Arsenal being amazing, the other team being bad. It doesn't feel necessarily that way. Arsenal still have a lot to work on. We can still talk about that. I spoke about a little bit about that later on. But it's just worth calling that out. I think it was a penalty, and I think it was sad that it was offside. I think, especially for Manchester United who are playing that way at the moment. But it's still a great result. Critical, small decisions, which Erik ten Hag is probably relying on going the other way, didn't go their way. He hung a leg out, didn't go particularly well. I'm not saying Johnny Evans' fault, but it rebounds beyond the goalkeeper, and Onana wasn't able to react in time. Equally, for the second goal, Onana's just kind of stuck to his line weirdly. Like, not even his line, just his 6-yard area. He's not really out far enough. Gabriel Jesus can just take it around him. Bit too easy, if I'm honest. No one's saying Onana shouldn't be Manchester United goalkeeper, but it seems like they've sacrificed a lot for the overall supremacy in the game, and now they don't have supremacy in the game, and Arsenal do. Sacrifices had to be made, though. Look at this. Look at this level of dominance. You kind of want like a octagon-type shape. I don't know what is a 9-sided shape called? But you kind of want that, like that there. Because really, you want this guy, you want Nelson to come a little bit further over, but the reason that he kept bombing on there was because there was so much space there. He's coming into this position, he's obviously coming in there, and you get me, like the two centre-backs are so split because they're trying to deal with these two guys. The moves that Arteta made to split the defence so far wide worked perfectly. Now, that doesn't account for Rice's goal. Rice's goal was off a set piece, and Rice is pretty critical at the set pieces, as my compatriot James Alcott has also acknowledged. So look at that. Now, obviously, weirdly, if it hadn't rebounded off Johnny Evans, it's probably a really easy save, but in those moments, Arsenal capitalised. Weirdly, Arsenal also had, this is actually a fairly okay formation with Arsenal's centre-backs right now, but Garnacho just streamed straight through the middle. There was no one there to stop him, relatively. And it is offside, but in the run of play, does it feel offside? Like Garnacho it was marginal. Arsenal could have been on the end of something that wasn't as pleasant, is what I'm saying. Just acknowledge that. And that, I think, is partly what we need to look at today. This graph over here, I think, tells the story of a game where Arteta will look back and go, look, you can narratively, we were the better team because look how high we can touch compared to Manchester United. The mean throughout in terms of control isn't there. But there are moments in this game where game changes for Manchester United and you go into their formation, Rashford, Fernandes, Antony, Eriksen, were giving Arsenal headaches in midfield. And do you know why? Part of it was, I still feel like Arsenal don't quite have the formation worked out in terms of game. Here, great control. There are great relationships between each of these people. Even when he slips in here, there is a great formation to be played there, right? Wish I'd laid out the formation. But it's a young side, right? Compared to Manchester United's 27.4 compared to the 24.4. Now, a few of the more experienced guys drag this up. Fernandes, Casemiro, Eriksen. That is a gnarly, nasty central midfield to get involved with. And I get it, like, there's some dark arts here that maybe Rice can engage in, but Odegaard's not going to do that. Havertz isn't really going to do that. Havertz might gain you some position on the field in terms of trying to win free kicks. Odegaard might also do similar. And Odegaard's first goal, obviously a very Odegaard-y goal. Brilliant finish, a great response to that early, frustrating Manchester United goal for Arsenal. But ultimately, I think they lost out in midfield because of the experience of Manchester United. And that is an eye test thing. Manchester United are trying to get those little fouls. They're trying to win. They're trying to be, not devious, but they're trying to be these older, more experienced heads that have got more control in a game. Turn it over, send it out to one of these front three, right? Send it out to Antony, who can bomb on down there. Send it down to Rashford, who ultimately cut inside, goal. Martial, again, experienced, older, giving Manchester United a foothold in the game. You saw when Højlund came on how different the game looked. He looked very energetic. He wanted to get involved up there. It was a completely different energy to what Martial was bringing. It was that counter-attacking, counter-play that Manchester United will be more famous for this season. But ultimately, because of the depth, look, they were winning it too deep here. And it meant that they were sending balls out down the field to these guys. And obviously, you want to see Bruno Fernandes. You want to see him further on. You want to see him a little bit wider out here. He ultimately did a pretty good job of getting down the field. I'm not a massive Rashford guy, but he did a good job. And Martial did a good job of facilitating that as well. You probably see that in his heat map too. But Arsenal had to deal with that. And what that means is it creates moments in the game where you think to yourself, I just saw another counter-attack. They're getting a foothold in the game. I just saw something else. They're doing this. Now, maybe the stats will even out in terms of, Opta and those guys go over a lot of this stuff post-game. They rejig a lot of this kind of stuff. So these are immediate after-the-game stats. But it's consistency versus that looking for that big punch. And Manchester United potentially found that big punch. But Arsenal ultimately landed due to consistency, due to jabbing, due to controlling the opponent in the way that you want to. And ultimately, at the end of the game, Arteta won out there. I had like a really good, I'm going to try and find it and drop it in here. Just give me 1 second. These are the previous results. Manchester United won in pre-season because Arsenal's game plan wasn't fully there yet. Arsenal then won last season when it was a big battle between Arteta and Erik ten Hag. Manchester United got that one at Old Trafford. Remember that big tactical battle between Arteta and ten Hag. And then before that, again, honours even, but a very different vibe around Arsenal at that point. This wasn't the same Arsenal as the Arsenal that we saw here, right? So what I'm saying is, more recently, there have been a lot more of these battles. Arteta was briefed for this. You could see how much he was primed for it. You could see how much it meant to him. You could see what was going on for this Arsenal side. But it was huge. This is a huge result, make no mistake, because this is seen as a big hump to get over. It's seen as a historic battle. This side, Arsenal, I think they feel like they have a lot to prove. They feel like there are underlying numbers, there are underlying things that they can work on. Again, units coming on, making big changes. Manchester United did the same. Maybe some of those backfired. The Garnacho one I particularly like. And the Højlund, actually, I'm going to discuss Manchester United another time. The point is, Arsenal and Arteta were on a tightrope, and you could sort of see that in this game. You could see there are a number of times where, due to some of the, they've got the overall system worked out, but they don't have the safeness worked out yet. There are good relationships in there. These two have a good relationship, but he's not quite Partey yet. Zinchenko's coming inside off the back of a suspension. Is it quite working there yet with Rice? I'd be interested to see some actual analysis from someone who actually knows about tactics. Ben White bombing on, I kind of like that. These two have a great relationship. Weirdly, these two have a pretty good relationship, or this whole side has a pretty good relationship, and they're just constantly looking for him in there. He's fantastic. Martinelli, by the way, world class. What more can I say? I feel like that's where it was won. Feels very obvious. There's probably some underlying thing that I'm missing. But ultimately, I think what we're trusting here is that Arteta can solidify these relationships enough to stop this area getting exploited. Managers are playing the odds. If that was Jurgen Klopp, I'd talk about playing the odds. This is a Manchester United side who are looking to counter-attack on this team. So, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. I'd be really interested to hear your opinions on absolutely everything. It's been fantastic. Remember, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already hit it, and also hit the link in the description. I really appreciate it. We're trying to keep this channel going. There's a lot of pressure to keep this channel going. It's really interesting to chat about these kind of things, really interesting to get the Arsenal feedback. You've lost Timber early on in the season, maybe. He would have been good for a game like this. I thought Tomiyasu was a massive sub as well. The subs worked. Vieira, you know what Vieira's really good at? And I'm just going to come in. He's really good at getting out here and spreading the play and then putting it back, and then it comes back in here. This area works, which is where Kai Havertz wants to get to. By the way, should have been a penalty. Kai Havertz, again, targeting this area. So interesting to see what Arsenal are doing in back out and then back in. Back out and then back in. It's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, all these little thoughts come out. This is one take off the top. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. I'm going to get back to my analysis and we'll do some more Arsenal stuff later in the week. Much love from this guy, but also this guy. See you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.